Welcome back, Anime Stark viewers. Part 4 of our thrilling Naruto and My Hero Academia series is here. Get ready to witness the exciting blend of these two worlds as we uncover the adventures and challenges that await our favorite ninja. Let's not waste any time, it's time to immerse ourselves in this unique crossover. It had to be better, all his friends were training hard, and he couldn't be the exception. Tomorrow was the big day, the start of the sports festival. All Might had given him the task to stand out, to shout to the world, "I am here," to show what he was made of to everyone. The symbol of peace had faith in him, and he couldn't let him down. All Might had given him the opportunity to achieve his goal, his dream of becoming a hero. He knew he had many obstacles to overcome and people to surpass: Kacchan, Todoroki-san, Uzumaki-san. He had to train to become as strong as them. With one final cry of effort, Izuku managed to complete a 10-kilometer run without stopping along the beach, which he had cleaned months ago while training with All Might. The number one hero was absent these days because the pre-festival days were crucial for security, and the symbol of peace had to be there. The tired green-haired boy caught his breath after his daily run, following a warm-up of squats, push-ups, and other exercises to keep his fitness at its peak. He was wearing a green hoodie, a white t-shirt underneath, dark sports pants, and his red sneakers. The exhausted teenager gazed at the sea horizon, where the sun was slowly rising, revealing the dawn. He sighed and sat down on the sand to enjoy the spectacle and rest. "Feeling rested, Izuku?" The green-haired boy felt his heart almost jump out of his chest in shock when he heard a voice. Rising to his feet, he saw that his classmate, Naruto Uzumaki, was just a few meters behind him. The shinobi was sitting on a raised concrete block in a lotus position. "Hello, Naruto." The nervous boy stood up straight and rigidly to greet the blonde teenager, who was sitting there calmly, gazing at the sea. "Call me Naruto. I'm tired of being so formal at that academy, and I don't want to do it here either." The shinobi spoke calmly but remained in his meditative position with his eyes closed. "All right, Naruto," the green-haired boy said hesitantly as he approached the classmate with markings on his cheeks. When he got close, he curiously examined Naruto's trance-like state. "It seems your training method is meditation. I've heard that it's not just about seeking enlightenment, it's also used for mental and physical training. Your muscles are tense and seem to be pushed to the limit. Is this how you became so strong? By forcing your muscles to exceed their own limits?" Naruto's raised eyebrow showed irritation at the constant whispers from the green-haired boy. "Izuku." Naruto grumbled under his breath, snapping the freckled boy out of his thoughts. He felt embarrassed for getting lost in his own thoughts. Sighing, the shinobi curiously looked at the teenager. "Do you always train at this time of day?" he asked, giving up on his own meditation. He had been meditating and pushing his muscles for nearly 6 hours, which was a challenging way to train. However, in his current state, he was limited by surveillance, and his body had not fully recovered. "Yes." Izuku blinked in confusion as he looked at Naruto. "Every day, I wake up at 5 a.m. to train. I go home at 8 a.m. to freshen up, and then I head to the academy at 9 a.m. After school, I continue training from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's what I do every day as much as possible," the freckled boy said seriously, never missing a day of training since he received One for All. Naruto remained serious and analytical. But he couldn't help but smile inwardly, showing some respect for the boy's dedication. "Your quirk is from All Might, right?" His question made Izuku almost have a heart attack. "Who told you that?" he exclaimed in shock at the secret he had been asked to keep. "You just did. You shouldn't have been so obvious." Naruto smiled with cunning and leapt down onto the sand. The sun was slowly rising, marking the beginning of a new day. There's a slim, almost skeletal guy lurking around the academy. It's needless to say that he bears a striking resemblance to All Might, with his hair, dark eyes, and pupils. Besides, both All Might and that guy have talked to you too many times. It's suspicious. I have 2 theories. You're either All Might's child, which I dismissed due to their significant aesthetic and physical differences, or somehow, the symbol of peace passed on a part of his power to you. I honestly didn't know quirks could be transferred." His analysis made the boy in front of him almost have a cardiac arrest. Sighing, the shinobi began to walk away from the green-haired boy. "If you're so tense, it means it's a secret you should guard better. We all have our secrets, Midoriya, and I'm not someone who reveals secrets." As he was about to leave, he heard the boy following him. "Wait. Why are you saying this? I thought you'd be resentful for what they did. Don't take it the wrong way, but this secret could be valuable to you. Why not use it?" Strangely, Deku spoke with gravity and seriousness, putting aside his usual timid and self-deprecating attitude. It showed that this secret was important to him. Coming to a complete stop, Naruto turned to face the green-haired teenager. Because I know how much harm this secret could do. All Might is more than just a hero, he's a symbol, an ideal that many aspire to achieve. You said it yourself, he's your inspiration, your idol. You want to be like him, to save people with a smile. His mere presence makes villains lower their heads and hide. Can you imagine what would happen if the symbol of peace appeared as a pathetic, skeletal figure on the brink of death? The question sent a shiver down the spine of the green-haired student, who swallowed hard. It was a question he hoped would never be answered. The entire society would collapse, chaos and endless deaths would reign in the streets as villains celebrated the fall of a symbol of protection and authority. You and I both know that for every hero, there are at least 100 people who wouldn't hesitate to break your neck. We would go back to the beginning when quirks were just emerging, only now 90% of the world's population would have powers they shouldn't have. It would be a war with no winners, only losses. A tense silence hung between the two teenagers who stared at each other. Two people so different yet so alike. They had different ideals and ways of doing things, but their goals were the same, to save people so they could have a future to live. Naruto. Midoriya leaned forward, his head bowed. I know I'm useless. I used an attack like you've seen. I can't keep losing an arm or fingers in attacks that don't guarantee my enemy's defeat. I know you have two quirks like Todoroki-san. You can manipulate electricity and enhance your body for incredible speed and strength. I want to ask for your help. Please, help me become better. With a resolute shout, he remained bent over, eagerly awaiting the shinobi's response. Standing in the sand, Uzumaki observed the freckled boy. He could simply ignore him and continue on his way. After all, how do you train someone who self-destructs when using their own power? Where's the fun if it's easy? With his right arm still supported by a bandage under his hoodie, he moved it to check if it was functional, though still sore. Cracking his neck with a head movement, he sighed. All right. I'll give you some advice and help see how much of your potential we can tap into. Follow me. Turning his back to the green-haired boy, he started walking, followed closely by the eager young hero. What did it mean to be the best? According to Bakugo, it was the power to crush those who stood in your way, to show that you were above them, and to demonstrate the difference between them and you. Since he awakened his quirk at the age of 4, he had been seen as a prodigy, someone with a future filled with great achievements. One of those achievements was becoming like All Might. Until adolescence, he had fought and defeated anyone who dared to challenge him. He never hesitated to face older opponents, and he always emerged victorious. But now, everything had changed. Not only was the useless Deku strong enough to challenge and even defeat him in that stupid bomb exercise, but that Todoroki was also a formidable opponent. She was the daughter of the number 2 hero, and he was sure that not even he could beat her. She was on a different level that he had yet to reach. These two had proven difficult to defeat, but he knew that he would still emerge victorious if he gave it his all. It had always been that way. He would never lose. Or at least, that's what he believed until someone came along to knock him off his pedestal and make him eat dust. Uzumaki Naruto. Just hearing that name made him seethe with anger. The shinobi not only defeated him but humiliated him. He was merely toying with him and easily defeated him, as if he were worth nothing. His hatred for him grew when he saw what he was truly capable of. Not only did he defeat the Nomu that had previously bested him with a single blow, but he didn't even use his abilities against him. Was he mocking him? He didn't even bother using them, as if Bakugo wasn't worth the effort. He. In one of the UA training centers, to be more precise, in the empty cities where the entrance exam was held, an explosion shook an entire building, causing it to collapse slowly. Among the rubble of the fallen building was Bakugo. He was breathing heavily, and his arms hung limply at his sides. His arms were twitching and trembling uncontrollably, showing that they had been pushed beyond their limits. With sweat pouring from his forehead, the blonde teenager straightened up again and looked at his hands. Closing his eyes, all he could see was Uzumaki, walking away from him, and only turned to smile arrogantly, with small explosions enveloping his hands. The troubled student with anger issues opened his eyes again, and with a gleam in his red eyes, he extended his arms to the sides. Uzumaki, he yelled with rage, causing an even larger explosion than before, destroying everything within reach within about 50 meters. No matter how, when, or where, he would defeat Uzumaki and prove that he was the best, that he was number 1. I'm going to visit Mom. Do you want to come? Fuyumi Todoroki was a young woman with snow-white hair with red streaks and gray eyes. She wore rectangular gray glasses and had a voluptuous figure, being older than her younger sister. She was dressed in a modest pink sweater and loose sports pants that concealed her figure. Currently, the eldest daughter of Endeavor was watching her younger sister stretching in the mansion's courtyard. The young Todoroki wore only a white sleeveless shirt and dark pants. She was making some movements, and ice shards were emerging from her right arm in a streak-like form. Taking a deep breath, the red and white-haired teenager stopped her movements and looked at her older sister. "I don't," she answered, showing no reaction to Fuyumi's pained and disappointed look. When her sister walked away, she was about to resume her training. However, when she heard heavy footsteps approaching, a glint of hatred appeared in her eyes. "What do you want, old man?" she asked insolently without bothering to look at her father, who was just a few meters behind her. "The UA Sports Festival is about to begin. I don't need to tell you what you must do, right?" Endeavor asked with seriousness, looking at his youngest daughter, the one who inherited both of her parents' abilities. She was his tool to surpass All Might, something he himself couldn't achieve. Yes, losing her motivation for training, she turned around, considering heading back to the mansion. As she passed by her father, she noticed he remained stern and stoic. Pausing for a moment, she heard him grumble. "Uzumaki Naruto." The girl couldn't help but show surprise upon hearing her father mention one of her classmates. Both father and daughter kept their backs to each other as the conversation continued. "He has the unconditional support of All Might, for reasons I don't yet understand. I only know he's a damaged kid with problems, someone who kills anyone who gets in his way. He's a psychopath." Endeavor had to raise an eyebrow when he heard a humorless laugh from his younger daughter. "Maybe. But you're not the most qualified to speak on that, old man. Maybe his actions are extreme, but at least he prioritizes his family, something you'll never have." She wasn't sure where that came from, but she was certain her classmate Uzumaki was not someone who allowed others to defame or speak ill of his own family. To some extent, she could respect that. The deep growl of the number 2 hero was the response the younger daughter received as she watched the flames around her father flare and dance around him. "Watch your words. If the time comes when you have to face him, don't hesitate to finish him off. And if you think you can only win with your right side." A tense silence settled in as both Todorokis confronted each other, locking eyes. "You're even more foolish than I thought. I will win that festival. Using only my right side. I don't need anything from you." This response made the professional hero's eyes narrow threateningly. "Keep thinking that way, and I assure you that you'll only taste the bitter flavor of defeat. You have the potential to be superior to All Might, to be better than everyone. You're a disappointment." With that, the number 2 hero walked away from his daughter, who remained where she was. Minutes passed, and the white and red-haired girl stood there, lost in her thoughts. Clenching her fists, she raised her gaze, showing only determination. "I will win, just to make you eat your dirty words." With those thoughts in mind, she turned to re-enter her home. In another part of the city, more precisely in the high society area, where every block had mansions that occupied hectares of land, one mansion stood out among them. The name Yaoyorozu was engraved in gold on the large entrance gates. Upon closer inspection, there was a vast, well-kept garden with a variety of vegetation, all with a stone path leading to the mansion. Among the many rooms, we focus on the bedroom of the young heiress, Momo Yaoyorozu. Currently, she had her hair down and was wearing a long classic 19th century beige dress that reached her knees. The teenager was sitting at her desk, which was filled with advanced chemistry and other subjects that even university-level students would find challenging to understand. Feeling unenthusiastic about studying, Momo closed her book, got up from her desk, and left her room. She walked through the endless corridors, greeting the mansion's staff, such as the servants, with politeness. After a few minutes, she reached a set of grand doors that opened automatically upon detecting her presence. Behind the doors was a vast office, at least 50 square meters and 10 meters in height. On either end of the room were shelves filled with endless books, while in other areas, glass cabinets displayed various trophies and photos of Momo at different stages of her life, always with her mother, as there was never any mention of her father. At the far end of the office sat Majim Yaoyorozu behind a large desk. "I'll talk to you later," the black-haired woman ended her call on her advanced glass-like phone. She smiled gently and gestured for her daughter to approach. "What's troubling you, my dear?" she asked calmly, watching as the girl sat in a chair across from her desk. "What do you think of Uzumaki Naruto, mother?" This question caused her mother's smile to fade, and her expression became more serious. Without finishing, Momo wanted to delve deeper into her question and the topic that was bothering her. "Many see him as someone who should be locked up or monitored as if he were a wild beast. He's uncomfortable with the ankle monitor they put on him, and he's constantly harassed by rumors from other students. Everyone fears him and doubts his loyalty, but I saw him risk his life for us. For me." Her words, filled with doubt and concern, made Majim sigh. People tend to fear those who appear physically stronger, faster than others. But beyond physical strength, there's another point: people fear Naruto for his ideals and ways of resolving things. We're all accustomed to a hero in a cape descending from the sky to defeat the villain, leading to a happy ending. He thinks differently about how to resolve things, in a way that, even if it's viewed poorly, might be better. Momo had to gasp in disbelief at her mother's words. Was she supporting her classmate Uzumaki's methods of dealing with villains? Pero, mother, the laws are strict and must be respected, that's how this system works. Normally, she would never go against her mother's words, but this time, she was still in disbelief over what she had heard. No matter how perfect something may seem, there will always be flaws. Do you know why I quit my law career, dear? Her mother asked softly. The older black-haired woman crossed her fingers and leaned her elbows on her desk. No. She didn't know why her mother left her career in her youth. Her mother had a perfect record and even had offers to work with the best firms abroad. Still, she left everything behind to start her own company, and now she was a major player in the industry. In my first 2 years as a lawyer, I had to witness people. No, monsters who didn't even deserve to breathe. I had to defend sick people who had killed, raped, and harmed innocent ones. I was a hypocrite, only thinking about winning my cases instead of seeking justice. She sighed heavily, took off her glasses, and pinched the bridge of her nose with her fingers, trying to relax. When I left my career and started over, I met your father. The years passed, and we founded our company, but when I was 7 months pregnant, I received a call. They said your father had died trying to defend himself from a villain who had just escaped from prison. If someone like Naruto-kun had been there and finished that villain off for good, your father would still be with us. Momo remained silent, taking in what her mother was telling her. She felt the sting of tears in her eyes. This was the first time she had heard the truth about what had happened to her father. Silently, she watched her mother get up from her desk and retrieve some files from a shelf, placing them on the table. Surely you've heard of vigilantes. They were the first to use their quirks against those causing havoc when quirks first appeared. But as the years went by, they were disregarded as the government established the pro-hero system. Many of the vigilantes who didn't meet the standards to become professional heroes were forgotten, or if they continued their actions, they were labeled as villains. Her mother opened some of the files again, handing them to her daughter. I've done as much research as possible on Naruto-kun's life to defend him in court. It seems I've discovered more than I thought. Is this? The teenager started examining the files, finding newspaper clippings of several disappearances and testimonies from people who had been saved by an unknown hero, with the only description being a hooded figure. It appears that those 2 incidents where Naruto-kun displayed his abilities were not the only ones. For the last 9 months, the area where he lives has experienced a significant decrease in crime. The few people living in that area refuse to speak, either out of fear or gratitude for the one who protects their homes from the shadows. The elder Yaoyorozu explained seriously, this time producing a photograph. A few weeks before Naruto-kun arrived at UA, an incident occurred where a group of 7 individuals with dangerous quirks were found dead. The few witnesses say they were stalking a blonde schoolgirl, and then all that was heard was struggling. When the police arrived, neither the girl nor the person responsible for the 7 murders were found. The office was filled with silence, broken only by the sound of the chair Momo was sitting in, as it fell over. Trembling uncontrollably, Momo looked in disbelief at her mother. Her classmate had done all of this. If you know this, why don't the police or professional heroes know about this? She asked, losing her composure and looking at her mother, who remained calm throughout. Because perhaps we're dealing with a necessary evil. My dear, you're still very young, and you can't see how cruel the world can be at times. But you're intelligent, and you know that sometimes there must be someone willing to break the rules to make a change. I'm willing to hide these files from the world if it means he can remain free. Majim got up from her seat, walked over to her daughter, and hugged her tightly. Moreover, he saved the most precious thing I have in this world. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you, Momo-chan. Difficult times are coming, and I know that if Naruto is close to you, you'll be safe. She kissed her daughter's forehead with pure love before leading her to the door. Go. The festivals are near, and you must give your best as always. She closed the door behind her daughter, leaning against it, and sighed. Things were getting more complicated than expected. The UA campus was now filled with people who were present for the annual sports festival. There were various food stalls and entertainment options for this grand event. However, discreetly, there were several undercover police officers and professional heroes among the civilians, just in case anything suspicious happened. Professional heroes were also conducting patrols, looking for anything unusual. Fireworks lit up the sky above the gigantic stadium, filled with excited spectators awaiting the start of the festival. Over 8 different departments were participating, but let's focus on Class 1A's changing room, where everyone was getting ready. Uzumaki-san, isn't it unfair for you to participate in your current condition? Toru, dressed like the others in a blue outfit with white stripes they typically wore for training, asked curiously and with concern. It was obvious that they shouldn't use their own costumes that aided their quirks. It was a measure to keep everyone on a level playing field. The real question is whether I should even participate, said the shinobi with a mocking smile, sitting and adjusting the bandages on his right arm, his only significant injury. The muscle pain still throbbed throughout his body, but it was manageable. Was that a pout? The teenager asked as he saw the silhouette of the invisible girl crossing her arms. No. Well, yes. It's just that you're the strongest among us, and you're going to wipe the floor with all the competition. It's unfair. Sighing, the invisible teenager knew it wouldn't be easy, but she had to stand out from the others, even if her quirk wasn't as impressive as some. Strength isn't everything, Toru. I could win this silly festival, and that wouldn't guarantee me being recruited by any of the hero departments. Honestly, I don't care much about this stuff, he said, standing up and feeling uncomfortable in the identical outfit they all wore. The bandages on both his arms were still there, along with the ones covering his forehead and his right eye. Naruto-san. Why are you here? Among the other students, Momo emerged, looking serious as she faced the shinobi. She walked up to Uzumaki. You clearly dislike these activities, and I know you're being forced to participate, but still, I want to know why. All the teenagers stopped what they were doing to look at the class president in front of the class's strongest student. All of this is for one thing, to earn a title that says you're worthy of being a hero. Since when does being a hero depend on being the most talented, strong, fast, or smart? I don't care about winning this festival or even graduating. To me, a hero is someone who has the courage to give and risk their life to save others. That's what being a hero is. Several students couldn't help but be influenced by the shinobi's words. When he was about to leave through the main door, someone blocked his way. Todoroki confronted Uzumaki, standing face to face. I can respect your opinion about what you said, but not just anyone can risk their life and think they're a hero. Uzumaki, I know you're powerful, more than anyone in this room or any student at UA. However, I assure you of one thing. I will defeat you. Everyone was incredulous at the serious challenge from the class's strongest girl, but what happened next left several jaws hanging. Of course, kid, of course, ruffling her white and red hair with his hand, the bipolar shinobi smiled. Shiori's posture became rigid, and she wore a more somber expression, with a dangerous glint in her eyes. Smiling, the bipolar shinobi moved away from the frozen girl. I'm going to crush him, thought the girl who adjusted her hair and turned her back to her classmates, leaving through the door with only one goal in mind, to defeat Uzumaki. Hey! All over the stadium, Present Mike's voice echoed through the speakers. He was the announcer alongside the still recovering Aizawa, who had a bandage around his head. The professional hero's greeting caused the crowd to explode in cheers and applause, as the event they had been eagerly anticipating was about to begin. Pay attention, sports enthusiasts and the press, get your cameras ready because the high school adolescence rodeo you all love, UA's sports festival, is about to start. Present Mike's voice resonated, causing the ground to vibrate with excitement from the stands. So, are you all ready? Then welcome to UA's first-year sports festival, the blonde announcer concluded, as applause and cheers filled the entrance tunnel of the General Studies Department. It's time for the first-year students to enter the stage, called out Present Mike. The entire 1A class slowly emerged from the entrance tunnels into the grand stadium. The ovations and cheers from the spectators were immediate, and the attention made more than one student panic. Midoriya, you should calm down, or you'll have a heart attack, calmly commented Naruto, who was behind the green-haired teenager, his hands in his pockets as he watched Midoriya trying to steady his breathing. The sports festival, the place where our young trainee heroes battle to sharpen their skills once a year and gain worldwide fame. Here are our kids, our miraculous stars who face the villain attack with heart of steel, the students of the Hero Department 1A. Present Mike exclaimed, introducing the 1A class, while the stadium excitedly cheered for the young heroes. The attack on the USJ had brought a lot of attention to the 1A students, though attention wasn't always a good thing. Isn't he the guy who tore off a villain's head? Naruto had to ignore his sharp ears, which still picked up whispers of people doubting him amid the cheers. He also noticed their disdainful looks, but he couldn't care less. In fact, the shinobi didn't even bother to listen to the rest of the hero department's presentations. Though curious, he quickly glanced at the competition. This brought back memories of when he first took the Chunin exams in Suna, passed all the tests, and even secured third place in the final tournament, which was impressive for someone so young. But for him, it wasn't that big of a deal. Coming out of his thoughts, he hoped this would be at least half as fun as he imagined. Amidst the whispers of the festival's participants and the cheers of the audience, a metallic sound echoed. In the middle of the stadium, a platform rose, and Midnight, the first examiner for the initial stage of the festival, appeared. Silence. Her thunderous voice echoed throughout the place. In front of them, on the elevated stage, stood Midnight, the 18-plus heroine, wearing her revealing heroine costume, a tight white outfit that clung to her like a second skin, complete with a corset and thigh-high stockings with garters. This attire showcased all her curves, her well-formed behind, and not to mention her bust, making nearly all the adolescent festival participants feel a tightness in their pants. "It's time for the student's commitment," said the black-haired woman with a smile, her gaze fixed on one student. "For that, we call Katsuki Bakugo from Class 1A to the stage, the student who finished first in the entrance exam." Raising an eyebrow, Naruto observed Bakugo, the explosive teenager, slowly walking to the microphone with his hands in his pockets. Once he reached the mic, he remained silent. "I just want to say, I'm going to win," Bakugo declared, causing a commotion among the hero department students. However, Katsuki ignored it all, focusing on giving Naruto, who stood there with crossed arms and an impassive expression, a challenging and angry look. "Why am I not surprised?" the blonde shinobi wondered, shaking his head. This guy had serious issues with losing, and it had been a long time since Naruto defeated him, yet he still held a grudge and wanted a rematch, it seemed. Turning his attention back to the professional heroine, he listened to what she had to say. With the student's words said, "It's time to begin the first test," Midnight announced to the students and the audience. At the same time, a holographic screen appeared behind her. "This year's first test is." She twirled her whip in her hand, and the screen displayed various tests, like a slot machine at a casino, until it stopped a few seconds later. "An obstacle course race." Midnight revealed the chosen test as she read it off the screen. "Well, it could be worse. It could be a written exam," Naruto thought calmly as he observed the various reactions of his classmates. "As you heard," the heroine continued, silencing the excited crowd that awaited an explanation of the event. "In this event, all 11 classes will participate in a race of approximately 4 kilometers around the stadium's perimeter, finishing where they started," Midnight explained as the screen behind her switched to a representation of the Colosseum, with a track encircling it. Several present nodded in understanding. "Our school's strength lies in our love for freedom. As long as you stay on the track, everything is fair game, including your quirks," she added with a broad smile, running her tongue across her lips as she said the last part. A weird version of Anko. Well, it could be worse, the shinobi thought, feeling the subtle scrutiny from the sadistic heroine. It seemed they still didn't trust him. Not that he cared about seriously competing with these kids in a race. Shaking his head, he noticed the platform descending, and Midnight, now with a serious expression, approached him. "We're watching you. Don't try anything funny," the black-haired heroine whispered, giving her back to the blonde shinobi to focus on the other UA students. "Now, participants, to your positions," Midnight ordered while fans cheered, eager for the competition to begin. With nothing else to do, the group of students started to move toward a massive door with 3 lights, resembling a traffic light. This huge door led to a corridor that would presumably take them to the track. "Good luck, Naruto," the Uzumaki turned to see a nervous Izuku behind him, ready to run. Nodding, he looked at the small entrance through which all the teenagers had to pass. Lifting an eyebrow, he saw that he had become the center of attention for several students. It seemed some of them wanted to get noticed by challenging him. With his hands in his pockets, Naruto completely ignored everyone and simply waited for the order to start. "Begin." Upon President Mike's shout, the students ran down the narrow corridor like animals. As expected, with too many participants, the exit quickly became blocked, leading to shoving and insults. "Look at them all running. They're certainly determined to win, and some have already made it through. Just watch young Todoroki demonstrate her abilities and how she's causing problems for her classmates. They're all giving their best." He glanced at the participants and noticed one missing. Turning back to the starting point, he was surprised. "Is Uzumaki just walking?" he asked incredulously as the shinobi calmly walked behind his peers. "It's as if he's running like crazy." With his hands in his pockets, the shinobi strolled along the track, much to the disappointment of the spectators who expected more. It didn't take long for Naruto to reach the ice left by Todoroki. Mocking the competition, he jumped and effortlessly slid on the ice, overtaking many who hadn't crossed it yet. Just look at that skating. Uzumaki knows more than just using his fists. The enthusiastic blonde commentator commented, finding joy in watching the shinobi skate on the ice with his hands in his pockets. He's got style. Yeah. Present Mike had no trouble praising the boy, even though the spectators still had doubts. Ignoring the professional hero's comments, Naruto passed the ice without a problem. On the other side, he found the competition had halted as dozens of robots, both large and small, had appeared as the next obstacle. Raising an eyebrow, he watched as a wave of ice rose to knock down one of the Class 0 robots. Continuing to walk, he passed by the other teenagers who were still uncertain about how to get past the robots. Uzumaki-san, wait. Ochako saw her classmate walking past her as if nothing were happening. Everyone watched as the teenager simply raised his right hand, surrounded by electricity. I would normally use my sword to avoid revealing my abilities, but since they didn't allow me to bring it, I'll have to improvise. The shinobi's words confused the students as they saw the Class 0 robots rapidly approaching the blonde, who continued to walk. He's insane. With a grumble, Momo opened her jacket, revealing that she was wearing only a dark sports bra. She quickly formed and installed a cannon on her stomach. Well. She was about to shoot to help her classmate, but he simply crouched and raised his right arm, covered in electricity, producing a sound like screeching birds. Smiling slightly, Naruto moved his arm horizontally, and much to the disbelief of many, a more than 30-meter-long blade of pure electricity emerged and easily cut the larger machines in half, exploding with force and causing their debris to crush the smaller robots. Oops, overdid it, the blonde shrugged and continued walking. This is incredible. Uzumaki created a lightsaber-like blade to deal with several of the robots. It feels like a reference to Star Wars. Present Mike excitedly exclaimed, watching the other students move forward and use their unique abilities to overcome various obstacles. The other students eventually snapped out of their disbelief and continued, facing the remaining machines still operational. It didn't take long for Naruto to fall to the last place again as he was overtaken by those who were running. You never cease to amaze me, Naruto, thought Midoriya, who carried a steel plate on his back. Passing by his classmate, he saw Naruto continue walking briskly, and just a few hundred meters ahead, the students stopped again when they encountered cliffs with only a few rocks and ropes to help them cross to the other side. Returning to the announcers, we focus on Aizawa, who narrowed his eyes as he saw the shinobi reach the cliffs. The boy could have finished the race in seconds. He knew about Naruto's second quirk, which enhanced his body, and with the speed he could achieve, he would have completed the race several minutes ago. He's just playing, Aizawa thought as he continued to watch what Naruto was doing. Reaching the cliffs, Naruto didn't stop for a moment. In the distance, he saw that some students were close to the final test. Well, the blonde didn't want to be left out of the second test. So, he bent his legs slightly, planted his hands on the ground, and ran, leaving a trail of dust. He made a strong leap that easily allowed him to cross the cliffs to the other side. Landing on his feet, Uzumaki noticed that his competition was looking at him suspiciously. You didn't think I'd just walk, did you? He taunted, further infuriating the students. Continuing his journey, he saw that the final test was a minefield. Near him, he found Izuku, who was digging a path and removing some mines from the ground. Clever kid, he muttered under his breath, and with a slight smile, he knew what the green-haired boy would do. Continuing to walk, he navigated through the mines without appearing affected by the constant explosions. These explosions were designed to stun and were still powerful. To ordinary people, they would have been disoriented and sent flying several meters, but he was different. With a bit of chakra in the soles of his feet, he ensured he stayed connected to the ground, and enduring the explosions was not a problem. Starting to run briskly, he passed all the students. With a jump, he caught an unsuspecting Mineta. Hey! What are you doing? The small boy yelled in panic, feeling the grip on the back of his neck. Something told him that he wouldn't like the answer, given the sinister smile on the shinobi's face. I'm eliminating the competition, kid. With a spin in the air, he grabbed the boy tightly and threw him where most students were, setting off a chain reaction of mines that continued to explode and delay the students. Landing among the first, the shinobi stood in front of Momo. Thanks. She knew the perverted dwarf would climb onto her when he was falling on top of her, but luckily, the shinobi saved her from that problem. Shrugging, the blonde Uzumaki continued to run through the exploding mines with every step he took. Just a few meters ahead were Bakugo and Todoroki, fighting to reach the top positions. Huh? Naruto raised an eyebrow when a cable reached him and wrapped around his left arm. I got you. At the start of the minefield was a girl with pink hair and various strange devices attached to her. She carried a sort of weapon in her hands, from which the cable that was connected to the shinobi extended. Here I go. Pressing a button on her belt, she made the cable reel in at high speed. Digging his feet into the ground with force, Naruto watched as the strange girl flew over the mines and other students to reach him. At the same time, a powerful explosion erupted at the beginning of the obstacle, and a piece of steel plate sent Midoriya flying over the competition. That kid's got guts, thought the shinobi as he saw the One for All air land on the top of the race leaders and use them as a support to strike the metal plate, causing another explosion that propelled him to sprint towards the finish line. Returning to the pink-haired girl, she landed on Naruto's back and held onto him tightly. Giddy up, big guy. Giddy up. We're just a few meters from winning. She moved restlessly with a big smile and pointed ahead. With a vein pulsating on his forehead, the shinobi could only keep running, ignoring the crazy girl on his back. Running at full speed, he passed by Shiori and Katsuki, who barely reacted to a yellow and pink blur passing between them. We're about to find out who the winners will be. Uzumaki went from being in last place to second, right behind Midoriya, who fell from the sky to claim the first place. This is madness. Present Mike's frenetic shouts only heightened the excitement of the spectators on the edge of their seats. No. With a fiery rage in his eyes, Bakugo made the explosions in his hands grow, giving him an even greater boost. Not only had that useless Deku just passed him, but now that damn Uzumaki did too. As they reached the corridor, Todoroki was closely following, just inches behind him. Izuku felt his legs tremble, and his lungs burned from his labored breathing. Running with all his might, he saw Naruto running alongside him, just a few steps ahead. Just a bit more. You can do it. Shouting with all his strength, he increased his speed, giving it his all to reach the finish line. Naruto had been running calmly. This speed was nothing compared to what he was used to. Suddenly, just before reaching the finish line, he stopped abruptly, allowing the green-haired teenager to cross the finish line first. I won. Smiling at Bakugo and Shiori with a taunting grin, he took a step back to reach the finish line. Midoriya Izuku is the winner of the first place. Followed by the second place, Hatsume? The girl on Naruto's back dismounted and cheerfully waved to the spectators. Third place goes to Uzumaki Naruto. Fourth and fifth are Bakugo and Todoroki, respectively, followed by the other participants. This was one of the best races I've seen, and I'm sure you think the same. In the middle of the stadium, all the students who crossed the finish line took a moment to catch their breath after the race. But focusing on two individuals, we see Naruto approaching Mei, who was checking and adjusting her equipment. Calmly, the shinobi reached the girl who smiled at him. Great teamwork, don't you think? We won. The adolescent celebration only raised an eyebrow from the shinobi. Teamwork? You just hopped on my back and clung to me like a tick. Apparently, Naruto's words had no effect on Hatsume, who shrugged it off. I saw an opportunity and took it. Isn't that what heroes do? She asked, winking, leaving the blonde bewildered. The girl checked her equipment to retrieve a card. But anyway, thanks to you, I finished in second place and showcased the usefulness of my babies. As a token of gratitude, I offer my services for anything you want, like a costume or gadgets to assist you, anything that might help you. What do you say? With a bright smile, she extended her card, but Naruto just walked away. Hey, wait. Running to catch up with the shinobi, she stood in front of him. I'm not interested in hero costumes or tools you can make. I don't like the idea of depending on unnecessary gadgets, he calmly replied, taking a step to the side, leaving the disbelieving girl with her mouth wide open. How rude. Alright, but if you change your mind, don't hesitate to call me. I have several ideas for equipment that could adapt to you. Running after the shinobi, she tucked her card into one of his many pockets. With that, she went on her way, moving away from the shinobi, who remained standing, watching as the platform in the center of the stadium began to rise again. Naruto was silent, looking in all directions. However, he had to stop and look at Midoriya. Apparently, being in first place had earned him cheers of ovation and victory from the spectators. He deserved to win this time, and seeing the tears of joy in the boy's eyes, he had no regrets about letting him win. It's good to see you again, Naruto-kun. A female voice caught the adolescent's attention, and he turned to see a calm Ibara approaching him. You gave an impressive performance back there. I see that, even though you were calm at the beginning, you became more daring at the end of the race to secure third place. She spoke calmly to the green-haired, vine-haired girl. What can I say, Ibara? I'm unpredictable. Looking at the girl, he He turned for a moment to see the screens and had to smile when he saw that the religious girl had finished in the 6th place of the race. Impressive, considering her only power was her strange hair. I admit I'm impressed to see you reach the 6th place. I didn't think you were a high-performance athlete, but you're good. He praised the girl, who saw Midnight starting to announce the race results. Okay, thank you, smiled the green-haired girl, her smile soft and innocent. Even the blonde was momentarily captivated by the teenager's smile, but he quickly refocused on the professional hero. The first 42 to reach the finish line advanced to the next round, which is unfortunate. But those who didn't make it don't need to be sad because we have other activities prepared for you to shine in. Midnight informed, licking her lips, causing disappointment among those who didn't advance to the next event. Now the real competition begins, the opportunity to catch the cameras, so give it your all. In a peculiar double meaning, several students looked at those who came in the top ranks or even at Naruto, who would attract more attention from the cameras and department than defeating a possible villain and threat to society. Many already knew where to focus their goals. Naruto smiled dangerously, knowing that he was now the target of many, which would only make things more interesting. Now, for the second event, everyone paid attention to Midnight as the screen behind her changed to the same one as when the first event was selected. What could it be? Obviously, I already know, but the uncertainty is exciting, she said, adding a slightly sadistic laugh at the end. And for the second event, we have. She announced to the excited audience, who really wanted to see a good fight, a cavalry battle. Let me explain, Midnight said, quieting the conversations among the students. Participants can form teams of 2 to 4 people as they prefer. In theory, it's similar to a regular cavalry battle, but there's something that sets it apart. Midnight paused to let everyone digest the information. That means each team will have a different value depending on who is on the team, she continued. You're right, said a girl with pink skin next to Ochako, but both were taken by surprise by Midnight's shout. Maybe you should keep quiet and let me finish explaining, scolded the hero, making her students fall silent immediately, looking down in embarrassment. Clearing her throat, Midnight continued with her explanation. As I was saying, each student has a score. For example, the last place has 5 points, the next one 10 points, and so on in increments of 5, ending with second place with a total of 205 points, she said as the screen behind her showed the positions, student names, and their received scores. The first place had only Izuku's name without any value, which caught everyone's attention. But for the first place, we have a surprise in store, Midnight said, licking her lips and fixing her gaze on the confused figure of Midoriya. The value assigned to this one is 10 million, Midnight revealed, and the stadium fell into a deathly silence. If someone dropped a coin in the stands, it would be heard on the other side. But as everyone focused on the winner of the first obstacle, we see a rigid Naruto with one of his eyebrows twitching uncontrollably. Carrying your teammates and snatching pieces of cloth with score values? He knew this kind of thing couldn't even compare to his world, but this was one of the stupidest tests he had ever seen in his life. He felt the temptation to just walk away and leave this nonsense, but he had to calm himself. While the ninja tried to calm his anger, the green-haired teenager was grappling with his own conflicts. 10 million, Izuku felt the gaze of all the participants fixated on him, trembling like a leaf. He could only swallow hard. If he was worth 10 million, it meant that everyone would come after him. Anyone could win the battle by capturing his 10 million points, even the one in last place. As he pondered the drawbacks of having so many points, all eyes in the stadium, from the students and the nation, were on him, marking him as the next target. That's right, Midnight said, looking at Midoriya along with everyone else. It seemed the pressure was overwhelming for him, but he managed to keep his composure, more or less, as he constantly looked in different directions to avoid the dangerous gazes of the competition. It's a survival of the fittest with an opportunity for those at the bottom to take the top spot. Now let me explain the rules of the battle. First, the battle has a time limit of 15 minutes, she announced to the audience, causing several to nod in agreement, analyzing the basic rules. They had only 15 minutes to fight each other. Each team's value is the sum of their members' points. For example, if the horses are worth 5, 10, and 15, and the rider is worth 20, the team will have a total value of 50 points. On the screen, an image of All Might riding 3 other heroes, who served as horses, was displayed. This value will be carried by the rider, who will wear a headband indicating this value. It's not allowed to use it anywhere else. Midnight clarified, as the screen image now showed All Might wearing a headband with 50 points. Each team will try to seize as many headbands as possible until the time runs out to increase their team's points. Stolen headbands must be worn around the neck. They are attached with Velcro for easy removal. But most importantly, if your headband is stolen or your team falls, it doesn't mean you're out of the event. You can keep playing until the event is over, the heroine finished explaining. Therefore, amidst the murmurs of the students, we focus on a thoughtful Yaoyorozu, who rubbed her chin with her fingertips. Since there are 42 people, there will be 10 or 12 teams, she quickly concluded, earning the approving gaze of the professional hero. One strategy would be to let someone take your points from the beginning so you'll have less pressure and won't need to protect yourself, said a girl with pink hair and skin aloud. It's hard to decide without knowing how the points will be distributed, Mina, replied another slender, dark-haired girl, responding to the pink-haired one, identifying her as Mina. During the game, it will be a fierce battle where you can use your quirks, but it's still a cavalry battle, so you'll get a red card if you intentionally knock down your opponents. If you do that, you'll be eliminated immediately, Midnight informed, causing everyone to nod, while Bakugo muttered a curse, having lost his battle plan. You have 15 minutes to create your teams, so begin, the woman ordered, and the screen displayed a countdown starting from 15, as if an explosion had occurred. All participants began moving to find their partners. It doesn't take a genius to notice that the students in the festival distanced themselves from both Midoriya and Uzumaki. One had 10 million points, the other a bad reputation. Sighing, the shinobi could only palm his forehead. You don't need to worry, Naruto-kun. They just don't know you and are wrong to judge you without knowing you, said the religious girl at his side, who had her ever innocent and pleasant smile on her face. I'm more than willing to team up with you, and we can both show that unity is strength. I won't accept no as an answer, the green-haired girl spoke with confidence, joining her hands to look at the serious Uzumaki, who had to smile. Isn't it against your beliefs to team up with someone like me? He asked with a touch of irony, considering the team that was forming, a religious girl of good faith and a blonde with homicide charges. It seemed like the beginning of a bad joke. I told you, Naruto-kun, I see a good person, and I don't care what others say. What kind of friend would I be if I let myself be swayed by blasphemous words from strangers? Ibara asked, this time with a more serious expression, never once breaking eye contact with the shinobi. You're too innocent. Sighing, the big-hearted teenager looked at the girl and placed his right hand on her shoulder to smile. And that's what I like most about you. Removing his hand, he turned to see that several groups had already formed. Even that crazy girl who had been on his back was now pestering Izuku, who was still shy around the opposite sex. Can we be a team of two? He wondered aloud. He could do it, and considering the competition, it wouldn't be a problem for him to take down everyone. Yes, the girl replied simply, and she felt somewhat sorry for her friend. She could see how the entire competition was watching them, and she was the only one who approached to offer to form a team. Doesn't that bother you? She thought as she saw the shinobi relaxed and not giving much importance to being ignored and even insulted behind his back. Was he accustomed to this rejection? That question worried her. Looking around, she saw that no one else approached, or the teams were already complete, which was a bit disappointing coming from her fellow students, who were supposed to be heroes. Good. Naruto took the headbands given to him by Midnight, not without receiving a warning look from her. Ignoring the heroine, he took the 2 headbands handed to him. He had 200, and his teammate had around 150 for being among the top places. Spinning on his heels, he approached his only teammate and tied the headbands around his neck. It's time to start the game, and we'll kick everyone's behind, he shouted, attracting the attention of everyone who felt challenged by his yell. Language. The vine-haired teenager said, embarrassed, as she felt the eyes of the entire stadium and the cameras recording her. She hoped her mother and father weren't watching the television right now. The second test is about to begin, and the 15 minutes given for teams to form have ended. President Mike's shout grabbed the attention of all the spectators, who had returned to their seats after a break. They looked at the blonde host with speakers around his neck as he read a screen with the names of the different teams formed for this test. Just look at the unique teams that have formed. These kids are creative, making sure all their quirks match so they can work together. Does any of them catch your eye, my old friend? He asked the hero, turning to Eraserhead, who remained silent. Eraserhead raised an eyebrow beneath his bandages as he curiously examined a particular team. President Mike noticed this and looked in the same direction as his old friend. Speaking of interesting teams, look what we have here. Among the many festival participants were 2 individuals positioned on the side of the arena where the cavalry battle would take place. They were Naruto and Ibara, who had formed a team. Ibara was sitting on Naruto's shoulders with her hands supported by an improvised harness made from her hair, which wrapped around the ninja's torso and shoulders. Why do I have to be the rider? The shy girl asked, blushing slightly in embarrassment. After all, she was sitting on a boy's shoulders with her thighs near his face, which was somewhat compromising from the young heroine's perspective. Can you lift 70 kilograms on your shoulders and, on top of that, run and deal with the competition? The ninja asked analytically, showing no signs of being affected by carrying the girl on his shoulders. No. Sighing, Ibara could only sit and prepare herself. Her vine-like hair moved constantly, getting ready for whatever was coming. Looking around, she noticed that they were among the few teams formed by duos. Most other teams consisted of students. Do you have a plan? She asked, looking down at her teammate, who closed his eyes for a moment to think. With the points we have, we're already qualified for the third stage, and in case we need to steal points, it will be from the less important teams. After all, advancing to the third stage won't be complicated, the ninja said calmly, no longer eager for the show. In the first test, he had only run to secure a good position, but now, with the points he had, he was already guaranteed a spot in the next stage, and he didn't want to attract too much attention. We can keep our distance from the others and bide our time, it's... No. Naruto had to blink in confusion at the interruption by the teenage girl on his shoulders. Raising his gaze, he met Ibara's determined look, and she was serious. We should never aim for second place only. Naruto-kun, all our peers are here to give their best, and they don't expect you not to try either. We can't miss this opportunity. We must shine and show what we're made of. The girl's strong words made the ninja fall silent and lost in thought. I'll always give more than 100%. No matter who I'm up against, I'll surpass them all. That's my ninja way. Naruto remembered those words he used to shout when he was just a kid. Smiling slightly, he raised his gaze to his eager partner, who awaited his response. So, you want to go for it? He asked calmly, noticing that the 15-minute time limit for team formation had expired. Yes. My mother used to say that you should never miss the opportunity to give your best and shine, she spoke calmly, with a bright smile that was infectious to Naruto. He sighed as he heard the time limit horn. She's a wise woman. I hope she's watching you now because both of us will put on a real show. With these words, the ninja adjusted his neck and began walking towards the area where the test would take place. Back with the commentators, they sounded the horn for the time limit to start the second stage of the festival. All right, everyone has formed their teams. Present Mike's voice echoed through the stadium's loudspeakers as the countdown on the stage's screen reached 0. Then, he said, on your marks, 3. All the participants with their respective teams were ready and prepared. Midoriya's team included Tokoyami, Uraka, and Hatsune, who was excited to use her gadgets. 2. Another team consisted of Shiori Todoroki, who was being carried by her team, including Ida, Yaoyorozu, and Kaminari. The white and red-haired girl gave furtive glances to Midoriya, as she did to Naruto, who was relaxed with his teammate on his back. Kill. Kill. Bakugo seemed to have two clear targets in mind. After taking 10 million points from Deku, he planned to go after Naruto to steal his points and eliminate him from the competition. Mina, Sero, and Kirishima couldn't help but watch their rider with concern. He seemed ready to explode at any moment. 1. Start. Midnight's shout signaled the beginning of what she believed would be a massacre. Instantly, everyone started running at each other, but they all stopped when a powerful gust of wind shook all the participants. What the heck? Incredulous, the heroine watched as a yellow and green blur passed more than halfway across the track, leaving only a trail of dust. Huh? Izuku barely had time to react as Naruto appeared in front of them in less than a second. Tokoyami. His bird-headed teammate was still dazed by the ninja's unexpected appearance, and his quirk caused a shadow to attack Naruto. The Uzumaki responded with a quick jump and a spinning kick, hitting the shadow silhouette, which grunted in pain and retreated. Ibara barely knew what had happened. One moment, she was at the edge of the track, and now she was in front of another team. Snapping out of her stupor, the green-haired girl reached out to snatch the most valuable headband from Midoriya, but she had to pull back her hands when a hook with a wire shot from a device built by Mei. We need to get away. Midoriya knew he couldn't fight the ninja under these circumstances. Activating the rocket pack on his back provided by the support department, he flew several meters into the air, hoping for a moment's respite. However, he and his teammates opened their eyes in disbelief when Naruto jumped so high that he cracked the ground and reached them. What should we do? Uraka cried out in distress as she saw the blonde carrying the Class B girl approaching them. They were in the air, and their equipment wouldn't allow them to maneuver in the air fast enough to escape. Deku made his right arm turn red and covered with green lightning. He had to stop him and was willing to sacrifice his arm to halt his classmate, who was now above them. Smash! When he was about to strike, Naruto reached him and interrupted his attack by catching his right arm with his left hand. No hard feelings, Midoriya. With that shout, Naruto moved his head and used his teeth to snatch the 10 million point headband from the green-haired teenager's forehead. Both teams started to descend and landed on the ground. The ninja landed on his knees, raising a dust cloud with the abrupt impact. Phew, that was tough. He took the band from his mouth and handed it to the astonished girl who still hadn't fully grasped what had just happened. The entire stadium fell into silence after witnessing what had just occurred. Present Mike and Eraserhead, located where they were both still bewildered. The first to snap out of it was the strange-haired blonde host, who tightly gripped his microphone. This is incredible. Team Uzumaki and Shiazashi have shown an amazing start. In just 20 seconds, they managed to secure 10 million points and claim the top spot. It's no wonder our egocentric blonde beat the entire Class A on his own and even made his debut in the recent villain invasion a few weeks ago. I don't know about you, but that kid has something special. The commentators' words didn't exactly reassure the spectators, but some had to admit that what they had just witnessed was mind-blowing. Furthermore, Miss Shiazashi displays courage, and she's one of the top students in her class for a reason. This is an odd team, a serious, dangerous, dark, and violent young man who won't hesitate to break bones, paired with a sweet, angelic girl as pure as the snow. A strange but effective combination. Yeah. A serious, dangerous, dark, and violent young man? That's offensive, old man. Naruto snorted at the comments he was hearing, straightened up, and observed how the competition was recovering from the impact. They were all coming for them now. Don't listen to them, Naruto-kun. We still have to keep going, there's plenty of time left, Ibura reassured him. She tied the 10 million point band to her forehead while noticing they were surrounded. Several of Class B's students were the first to approach, but before they could get closer, they were forced to retreat when a wall of green vines protected the duo. It's like a weaker version of Makuten. It focuses on manipulating her hair, which is basically thin stems with small vine spines. I wonder how powerful this ability can be, Naruto thought curiously, observing the green dome created by the girl on his shoulders. It goes without saying that the blows from the outside didn't take long to arrive. From outside the dome, several students used their quirks to break down the plant barrier, which reformed each time a part was destroyed, making the task more challenging. Get out of there, you loser. Bakugo didn't hesitate to jump away from his team and, by clasping his hands, struck the dome, creating a powerful explosion that nearly knocked some riders off their mounts. However, it successfully brought down the dome, only to reveal it was empty. Bakugo, above you. Sero, using his quirk, made tape shoot from one of his arms, catching his teammate just in time to pull him and prevent him from being crushed by Naruto, who had fallen to the ground, leaving a small crater. With an analytical look, the ninja placed his hands on the ground and, extending one of his legs, spun like a top, creating a massive dust cloud that quickly enveloped the area. Standing up, the blonde extended his arms to catch his teammate who fell from the sky. It wasn't difficult to launch her into the sky first and create a layer of dirt to block everyone's view. I'm ready. The green-haired girl had no trouble moving and climbing onto the ninja's back. She wrapped her legs around his torso and her arms around his neck, and he carried her. Inside, she was grateful for being on the boy's back, which kept him from noticing her chest being pressed against his back or the blush that crept onto her cheeks. She had never been so close to a boy before. Seeing that his partner was ready, Naruto began to run through the dust cloud, smiling. If his teammate wanted them to shine and show what they were made of, so be it. The dust cloud makes it impossible to see anything. But it's clear that things are still chaotic, as you can't stop seeing movements down there. Present Mike commented as the dust cloud gradually settled, revealing all the festival's participating students. Asui, where's Mineta and your headband? One of the teams consisted of Asui, Mineta, and Shoji. The first two were on the back of the six-armed giant who acted as a tank, covering both of his teammates on his back. However, it appeared the coverage was not perfect because the frog girl was now looking at the frustrated dwarf who had lost his headband. They took it from me, he cried out in despair, and he wasn't the only one. When the dust finally cleared, several others realized their headbands were missing. The only teams that weren't robbed were Midoriya's, Todoroki's, Shinso's, Bakugo's, and Monoma's, the last two of which had their own encounter. At one end of the track, Naruto sighed and flexed his knees. Looking back, he saw that several locks of his teammates' hair were holding the headbands they had acquired. It was easy to pass through those who thought they would be ignored because they had low points and waited until the last moment to get the ones they needed to win. It was simple to take advantage of their carelessness. This is unheard of. The yin-yang duo has snatched headbands from more than 5 teams in just a few seconds. I've never seen anything like this. This generation undoubtedly has a lot to offer. I'm afraid of losing my job to kids like them who will be the next professional heroes. Present Mike's shouts encouraged people to cheer excitedly for the show they had before them. Uzumaki is the physical one on this team. He runs and attacks. Shiazashi is the last line of defense, and she also snatches headbands with her unique medium-range ability that's hard for others to predict. They're balancing their skills quite well, which is impressive, Aizawa spoke calmly. He kept analyzing everything with a calculative approach. The ninja's attitude had changed during the event, possibly influenced by a girl. It was a possibility. Great comment, my friend, Present Mike praised his old friend, who just nodded. Returning to the participants, we see a serious Shiori glance at the clock on the screen. There were only 6 minutes left. Looking at the stands, she saw her father on the upper tier, arms crossed, with his ever hypocritical gaze that bothered her. Taking a deep breath, she relaxed. It wasn't the time to think about that. Looking at her teammates, she saw they were waiting for her orders. It's time to act. This is the plan, she explained the steps they needed to follow. Midoriya? Izuku snapped out of his thoughts when the bird-like boy spoke to him. They only had 210 points and were in 5th place, not enough to move to the 3rd stage. Looking at his team, he realized they were waiting for a plan. Closing his eyes, he quickly thought about what to do. He knew about Uzumaki's abilities and realized that going after him directly would be foolish, especially with everyone else targeting the same team. That's it, he said, opening his eyes. Everyone was going after the 1st place duo. Let's run towards them. I'll explain the plan. With that command, the 2 girls and the teenage crow ran toward their target and heard their rider's plan. Get lost, you jerk. Bakugo ripped Monoma's headbands off with an exhilarated smile, showcasing his abilities and leadership to not only regain their points but also take all the copied quirks from the arrogant mimic. Landing back with his teammates, he started pounding Kirishima's head. Hey, what's going on now? The redhead couldn't even ask as he was forced to run in the direction all the other teams were going. For Uzumaki. We have to defeat him and secure 1st place. Run fast. Understanding the plan, they saw on the screens that they were in 3rd place, just below Todoroki and Uzumaki. Running at top speed, the team knew what to do. Oh no. All the teams are going after our unique duo. With only 4 minutes left, it's do or die. Everyone was on the edge of their seats, including Present Mike, eager to see how it would all turn out. Cheers and support for different teams were deafening. Take a look. Naruto grinned defiantly as he saw everyone coming for him and his partner. Stepping firmly, he flexed his legs and took a deep breath. Ready? He asked without looking up, and her response was feeling the girl's arms and legs tighten around him. Yes. With her hair billowing behind her, she made it grow and move threateningly. Let's do it, Naruto-kun. She used her feet to kick the ninja's torso as if he were a horse. Obviously, this action created an awkward atmosphere between them, and Naruto's piercing gaze didn't help. Sorry. I got carried away. Her face turned red as she apologized for her childish outburst, but she couldn't help it, the climax of the moment made her do it. Let's pretend that didn't happen, the ninja said. He leapt to avoid stepping on a strange, thick liquid released by one of Class B's students, who was a 2-meter giant with a head resembling a medieval helmet. Landing at a distance, he had to skid to avoid an attack from Shoji. Give me back my points. The giant teenager's arms separated to reveal Mineta and Asui. Both attacked with their respective quirks, purple spheres and a long tongue aimed at the duo, but they were all repelled by Ibara's hair. Shoji, realizing that long-range attacks weren't effective, ran at top speed toward Uzumaki. Even with his superhuman strength and speed, he knew the ninja would be tough to beat. Ah! He grunted and charged at the blonde. They ran toward each other and tackled each other with force, raising a small dust cloud. However, the giant skidded backward due to Uzumaki's strength, and with a serious expression, he pushed his classmate back several meters. But this victory didn't last long because the ninja with whiskers ran when the ground under him began to freeze. Naruto saw that Todoroki's team was right behind him. At the front of the group was Ida, who used his quirk to lead his teammates with skates, giving them better mobility and speed, reaching almost 60 km per hour, nearly twice the speed of an Olympic athlete. Running at full speed, Ida was about to reach the ninja. However, when he was just a few meters away, he was left behind as Uzumaki suddenly burst into an even greater speed. Not so fast. Shiori extended her right arm, and an ice wall formed, blocking the duo's path. The red and white-haired rider glanced at Yaoyorozu, who created a steel rod from her arm and handed it to her rider. As they ran toward their target, they saw that he didn't stop at the ice wall. Instead, the ninja jumped and kicked it down, leaving the mixed-haired girl furious as she clenched her teeth, but in the path of Naruto, someone fell from above. Uzumaki. Flying across the track, Bakugo charged toward the blonde ninja with whiskers. He had to stop when he saw the ground covered in a slippery liquid coming from the pink-haired girl who was throwing that strange liquid from her hands. Losing his balance, Naruto skidded and saw he was heading straight for the explosive teenager just a few meters away. Die! Bakugo extended his right arm and caused a massive explosion that hit Uzumaki directly. In the smoke cloud, Katsuki was sent flying backward when a foot emerged from the smoke and struck him in the stomach. Flying back with his team, Katsuki was caught by them. Groaning in pain, the student felt the strong pain in his stomach from that kick. Is that all? Naruto appeared in the smoke, having lost the upper part of his suit, exposing his arms and part of his torso. Ibara was behind him and received minimal damage since Uzumaki acted as a shield that took most of the explosion. It takes more than that to hurt me. His words were accurate because he only had a few scratches and his hair was slightly singed by the explosion that would have knocked out and possibly killed a normal person. You're right. Smash. Naruto had to plant his feet on the ground and, taking his partner, he threw her into the air, only to be hit by a shockwave or air current that made him slide back a few meters. No hard feelings, Naruto, Izuku shouted, sacrificing one of his fingers to separate the ninja from the Class B girl. Using the thruster on his back, he activated it to lift himself and his team, going after Ibara, who was defenseless in the sky. Huh? Starting to fall to the ground again, the girl saw that they were coming for her. Using her hair, she created a sphere to protect herself, but it was no problem for Dark Shadow to penetrate her defenses and reach her. The Class B girl couldn't prevent the shadowy bird's beak from reaching her and snatching one of her headbands. One more. The green-haired girl couldn't stop Midoriya's entire team from reaching her this time. This time, the rider extended her arm to grab the points, but she couldn't succeed since several vine-like strands enveloped the whole group and reached their equipment. My babies. Mei panicked as she saw the green-haired girl's hair entering the thrusters or squeezing the devices, causing them to malfunction. Tokoyami, still calling his shadow, saw that he was trapped by the vines that kept emerging from Ibara. The 5 students suspended in the air began to descend slowly. Although Ochako used her power on her teammates, the weight of Uzumaki's partner, who refused to let her points be taken, was still a challenge. My hair. The young girl began to feel tired from exerting her quirk so much. Worried, she saw that the restraints containing the rival team were breaking. She couldn't continue pulling more of her hair out. She needed a few minutes to rest. I'm so sorry. Stepping on the bird-like boy's head, she launched herself backward to break free from them and fall. She was only about 20 meters from the ground, and this would hurt, but at least they did well. Resigned to fall, she closed her eyes. I've got you. The Class B student was caught in the air just in time by Naruto, who held her bridal style in his arms. Skidding to a stop on the ground, the ninja sighed with relief. If she touched the ground, they would have been disqualified. Near them, the Midoriya team fell and managed to land despite several malfunctions in Hatsume's equipment. We did it. Uraka cheered, relieved to have regained the 10 million points. But her smile faded when she saw Tokoyami, frustrated, showing that he only had a 200-point headband. Oh no. Looking at the stadium screen, she saw that they were now in 4th place. Was that enough? She didn't know. There are only about 40 seconds left. What do we do? Her question made everyone look at each other and then at Izuku, who was hesitating about what to do. There's still time. Without wasting a moment, the Midoriya team ran toward where the ninja was now being approached by the other teams. Kaminari. Yaoyorozu. Returning to the Todoroki team, we see the team's rider glaring furiously at Uzumaki, who was just a few steps away. Her 2 teammates in the rear, upon hearing her command, began executing the plan. An insulating rubber blanket emerged from Momo's stomach, which she used to cover her team. At the same time, Kaminari started to glow, surrounded by electricity. Do you trust me? Naruto unexpectedly asked while carrying the girl in his arms. Looking at her, he saw her exhaustion, and she nodded in agreement. With a spin, Naruto once again launched his partner into the sky, easily surpassing the stadium's height. This alarmed many spectators and heroes. 1.2 million volts. Kaminari's shout caught everyone's attention as he became surrounded by yellow lightning, which shot directly at all the teams nearby, electrocuting them. Huh? Denki, in disbelief, watched as the ninja ran toward them as if the electricity didn't affect him. More power. This time, he concentrated all his energy and power against Uzumaki, creating a golden lightning bolt that struck its target. For a moment, Naruto remained still, feeling the millions of volts course through his body. But as soon as the lightning hit him, he vanished. I'm used to pain, idiots. Now it's my turn. Shocking his hands, the blonde caused blue lightning to envelop him, which he directed at the opposing team. They could only cover themselves with the rubber blanket. It's too much. Momo watched as the blanket she had created started to melt from the heat of the Uzumaki's lightning, forcing the teenagers to let go of it to avoid being burned. At the same time, the electricity emitted by Uzumaki stopped. How can he be so strong? Shiori thought with incredulity as she saw the bearded blonde running towards them. Extending her arms, she thought to protect herself from what was coming. Unconsciously, her right arm was covered in ice, and her left arm in flames. What? She whispered, seeing the flames surround her left arm. Raising her gaze again, she saw that Uzumaki had only stopped a few inches from her and then took a huge leap. Soaring through the sky, Naruto extended his arms and caught his partner, only to start falling again. After falling several meters, the ninja landed hard on his back, making sure the girl fell onto him. Groaning, the teenager got up slowly and placed the girl on his back. I'm not done yet, Uzumaki. Uzumaki, getting to his feet, faced Bakugo, who was racing towards him at full speed, carrying his partner on his back. The two blondes were ready to do whatever it took to win. These kids are amazing. In another section of the stadium, security heroes were taking a break to watch the development of the second stage. Among them were Kamui, Mount Lady, and Disadagoro, who were watching the festival on the screen. I wouldn't mind having some of them in my station to test them. They look promising, the wooden hero commented while sipping a cup of coffee. I totally agree. Although I have some doubts about that blonde kid who took down everyone. It seems he has two quirks, electricity manipulation, and body enhancement. It's a deadly combination. It's a shame that he's already deep in the darkness. Disadagoro's words made Mount Lady furrow her brow. Why do you say that? She asked, looking at her smoking partner who had taken on a more serious expression. He has a long list of crimes, and he's not trustworthy. Even though All Might trusts him, it doesn't mean that other hero departments do. Even if he wins this festival in first place, I doubt anyone will want the responsibility of being in charge of that kid. Raising an eyebrow, the man saw the blonde in a mask lost in thought, staring at the screen showing Uzumaki carrying the Class B girl. I thought you were afraid of that madman, he said with uncertainty, looking at his coworker who sighed. I am afraid. He killed someone with a quirk similar to mine as if it were a game. When I saw his eyes, they were as cold as ice, and that sword was soaked in blood. She couldn't help but shudder at the memory, but now, seeing him protect that girl and working hard to win, it was different. I believe that All Might be right. He saved those kids. I think he just needs a second chance, that's all. Having said that, she looked back at the screen to see how this stage would end. The gaze of both Bakugo and Uzumaki locked onto each other. Katsuki's right hand was glowing red, ready to unleash a powerful explosion. The same was the case for Naruto, whose right arm was covered in blue lightning. Both slowly approached, and it seemed that they were about to collide inevitably. Time. Present Mike's deafening shout made the two blondes stop just inches away from crashing into each other. Katsuki was the one who fell face first to the ground when the ninja stepped aside. The second stage has concluded.